Spirit Airlines has now collapsed after years of losses, with thousands of jobs on the line and billions in debt. Economists predicted this would happen after the Biden administration blocked a proposed merger that could have saved the company, a move that Democrats celebrated. In fact, Senator Elizabeth Warren even posted at the time, "I've warned for months that a JetBlue Spirit Airlines merger would have led to fewer flights and higher fares." Justice ATR and USDOT were right to stand up for consumers and fight against runaway airline consolidation. This is a Biden win for flyers.
It's a move putting 17,000 people out of a job. The company says it's in its second bankruptcy, but the cost of jet fuel just proved too much for the budget airline. Spirit Airlines now left to shutter after failing to secure a federal bailout as well. That's leaving thousands of passengers scrambling. Now, other airlines are stepping in with limited help while longtime passengers wait for refunds and answers. A sudden shutdown sending shockwaves through airports and across the travel industry.
It's just becoming more and more real.
Leaders for Spirit Airlines announcing early Saturday they would end operations after more than 3 decades in business, canceling all flights and cutting off customer service. For passengers like Joanna Williams, the timing couldn't be worse.
I was just kind of waiting for the email. I think it came in around like 2:58 a.m. It was like just after I saw it on the news. The email then said things like, Spirit passengers should not show up to the airport, things like that.
Williams says she was left scrambling around 24 hours before she was supposed to take off from Orlando to New York City. It cost her sleep, stress, and cash.
And in the middle of that, just frantically on my phone, checking all of the apps, Google Flights, doing so many different customer service chats, asking, hey, is there a resource for me as a Spirit passenger?
For one Reno traveler, what was supposed to be a quick and affordable weekend to Las Vegas quickly turned into a stressful and an expensive ordeal for one woman and her family. Kate McCall says that she booked these flights with Spirit Airlines back in January, drawn in by low prices and a simple direct route. Everything appeared normal even the day before her trip, but that all changed Saturday morning. McCall says she woke up to a notification telling her not to come to the airport because her flight had been canceled. With few options and skyrocketing same-day ticket prices on other airlines, she and her group made a tough decision and decided to drive.
I paid for it back in January, so that money is long gone at this point, but I do want my money back, especially since it wasn't my choice to cancel the flight. The morning of the flight, when I saw the flight was canceled, I looked on Southwest, which is where I usually fly through, and tickets were $1,500 for the day of, so that's why we decided to drive.
With Spirit's ultra-low fares suddenly gone, replacement flights came at a steep cost, some topping $1,000 for a one-way ticket.
Also in that time, we kind of started thinking, okay, do we want to start looking at other airports? So I was intending to fly out of Orlando. We looked at what if I flew out of Fort Lauderdale, Jacksonville, Miami.
Williams was able to book a flight into a different airport, leaving out a day later. Spirit Airlines representatives say many customers will receive automatic refunds, but for travelers caught in the chaos, that relief may take time.
We'll see what happens. I'm still waiting on a refund for a canceled flight with Spirit from Easter.
And McCall goes on to say that she has not received a refund from Spirit Airlines yet, and that's including what she had to pay for carry-on bags as well. The airport, we spoke with them as well, and they're just continuing to tell people if you have a flight booked here at RNO with Spirit Airlines, please do not show up, and you can call them and find out another way or another airline to get onto. We have more details on our websites.
Beyond the immediate disruption, Williams says there are bigger questions about what comes next.
This will really disrupt the industry because there's no longer that super low player in the market that competitors have to consider.
And for Williams, she says the loss is already being felt, especially as one of her loved ones used to fly these planes as a captain.
Some great memories, really grateful for what Spirit has provided for our family, and hard to believe that that's all over.
Former White House economic advisor Steve Moore. Steve, Spirit Airlines forced to file for bankruptcy. They got $9 billion in debt, 17,000 airline jobs lost. So thanks to Senator Warren and Democrats who pushed to block the merger, we now have less competition, higher airfares, and fewer jobs. I know you got a lot to say about this.
Yeah, it's a real indictment of our antitrust laws that make it really difficult for companies to merge. And in this case, it made no sense, Jan, because Spirit was very close to bankruptcy a year or two ago. They got a lifeline from JetBlue in this merger, which would have been good for the workers, would have been good for the shareholders. And as you just said, Jan, quite correctly, it would have been good for competition in the airline industry. Right now, as you know, we have 4 major airlines. We have United, American, Delta, and Southwest. And if they had allowed this merger, you would have had a 5th major competitor. So the Senator Warren was absolutely wrong. It would have led to more competition in the airline industry, not less. And now what's sad about this outcome, because they did not allow the merger to happen, 17,000 Spirit employees have been laid off. They've lost their jobs. There's this airline is going to have to, those planes will be sold at fire sale prices. So everybody lost here. And by the way, it wasn't just Elizabeth Warren. It was also the transportation secretary at that time, Pete Buttigieg, who came out very strongly against this. So if there's something to learn here, it's that mergers can actually lead to healthier companies. And we go way too far in saying, no, these two companies can't merge. People won't invest in these companies if they can't merge and if they can't thrive.
Sometimes this is what you have to do to keep some companies afloat, and that's what they tried to do here.
After its second time filing for bankruptcy and a failed bailout effort, Spirit Airlines shut down after 3 decades of flights on Saturday. Let's go to Morgan Stevens at the Fact Check team, and we are still bracing for the impact of all of this. But one thing is for sure, this will impact competition. Tell us what it means for travelers.
Yeah, so this could have a big impact on competition, but especially for those low-cost travelers. Now, Spirit only held about 3 to 4% of the market, but it really played an outsized role in keeping fares low by forcing bigger airlines to compete on price. The New York Times reports that without Spirit, some routes could see fewer flights and less incentive for major airlines to offer rock-bottom deals. Now, at the same time here, they note it could benefit larger carriers, which may pick up Spirit's routes and customers. As for a bailout, though, there were reports the airline held talks with the Trump administration over a potential $500 million lifeline, but that deal, it fell apart during resistance from creditors and political pushback. Now Spirit says it has no clear path forward and officially ceased operations on Saturday.
So fair to say Americans can expect higher prices this summer?
Yes, unfortunately, that's likely what we're going to see. So let's break it down. Fewer options means possible service gaps on some routes, especially higher prices and for those cheap flights. So experts say Spirit's business model here, it really helped keep baseline ticket prices low, even for people who never flew the airline or didn't fly budget at all. So without it, there's less competition, which can push those prices up across the board. And on top of that, airfares are already under pressure from rising fuel costs driven mostly by the Iran war. So this could really be a double hit for travelers.
That's right, because high gas prices, high fuel prices. What does this mean for Americans taking family trips this summer? We'll see. Morgan, thank you. For more on this Fact Check Team topic, including links to their sources, scan the QR code or visit thenationaldesk.com. After more than 30 years of flights, Spirit Airlines is closing up shop and landing their bright yellow planes for the last time. This comes as a disappointment to many relying on cheap flights, since Spirit was one of the last few budget airlines in the U.S. Let's go to Emma Withrow from the Fact Check Team to discuss. Of course, this all comes down to money. What is Spirit saying?
Yeah, so Spirit released a statement that they said they reached a restructuring plan with bondholders in March, but then the recent spike in fuel prices we've seen since the start of the Iran war really left the company needing hundreds of millions in additional liquidity that it just couldn't obtain at the time. So the main budget airlines left that we see here in the U.S. are Frontier, Allegiant, Avelo, Breeze, Sun Country. Plus, there's also Southwest and JetBlue as some broader low-cost carriers, but those flights are a little bit more expensive than what we saw with Spirit and companies like Frontier.
Yeah, in addition to the pressures that you're noting with the jet fuel, just overall when you have less options, could result in higher fares at a time when it seems like travelers are not too happy. What does the data show about how they feel about airlines? Yeah,
it definitely feels like prices have gone up when it comes to airfare. But the weird part is that the official fare data shows a little bit of a different story than what travelers are feeling. The Bureau of Transportation Statistics says that the average domestic airfare in 2025 was about $387, which is down 1.8% from 2024 after adjusting for inflation. But that number doesn't fully capture why passengers are experiencing this trip and the way that they are. We're talking about things like add-on fees, worse seat options, packed flights, fewer direct routes, and less flexibility that can all make the real cost feel a lot higher. So the honest answer really here is that flying has been optimized for airline revenue and efficiency, not necessarily passenger comfort as time has gone on. And airlines really lowered or restrained some base fares by stripping out the services that you would normally get and then charging separately for those things that passengers used to assume were included in the actual fare. So that's why we see those prices getting lower.
Right, and I mean, you make a good point that airlines are also adjusting their tactics with, more space and getting rid of the carry-on options for some of them. Emma, thank you.
Thanks.
For more on this Factor Team topic, Morgan will join us to dig into what Spirit's closure means for travelers and the airline industry going forward.